Hi there. This is the second lesson in six regarding What Are You by Amelia Shanklin. So, as a general recap from our first lesson, we talked about identity and personal. The identity never changes, it's always the same no matter who you are. But our personality changes. The person of who we are changes with every day. So, we dived a little bit into that. And in these two chapters, what by the book What Are You by Amelia Shanklin is about the stages of our mind. There are three areas of our mind. There's the superconscious, there's the conscious, and then there's the subconscious. Our conscious mind floats in and out of the subconscious and the superconscious at will. We've been trained and frankly programmed to go to the subconscious mind more than the superconscious mind. The superconscious mind is where our identity is. Never changes, always God, always good. Everything that's in the superconscious is the mind of God. And the subconscious is a collection of all that's happened, whether it is good, bad, true, wrong, factual, not factual, based on scientific evidence, based on rumor, it's all sitting there in the subconscious. And our senses are sitting in there as well, because our senses generate a memory, and that's the subconscious. The conscious mind is the place that we choose with which to operate. We make a decision by going to the subconscious mind or the superconscious mind. Our objective is to go to the superconscious mind as often as we can. Because when we do that, we're tapping into the mind of God. And we want more of God in our life, at least that's what we tell ourselves. And if we want more of God, then it is necessary for us to be conscious of going to the superconscious mind for the divine ideas with which will prosper our life, whatever that prosperity is. She also speaks about being very aware of what the conscious mind is doing. We have to pay attention. We have to study what our mind is doing and then decide with what the mind is doing, is that what we want in our life? Do we want to create what it is we're giving our attention to, right? So are we giving attention to the God mind? Or are we giving it to the monkey mind, which is another word for our subconscious? Because the monkey mind, the subconscious mind has all of this stuff, and we have to constantly navigate these memories, the senses. And I loved her example of foraging. She gives the example of a person finding a waterfall in the desert. And so this trickle of water is coming down, and the farmer decides to widen the hole with which the water's coming down. And when he does that, he then is able to create a pasture that is fruitful. As he expands his knowledge of God, he expands the hole with which the water is coming out. And with each expansion, he further expands his field of growth. And isn't that what we're doing? With every passing thought, the more we tap into the superconscious, we're expanding our fertile ground. We're expanding our awareness of how effective it is to tap into the superconscious mind rather than the subconscious mind. I am not saying that going to the subconscious is an error. I'm not saying that. But it is very difficult for us to decipher what's coming out of the subconscious mind in our mental realm to determine whether it is true or not true. Part of our identity, unchanging, always good, or is this a transitory thought, one that can change on a whim? And so our conscious is being aware, being fully embedded in the thinking process. Which mind am I choosing right now with which to take this action? Now, unfortunately, many things we do are unconscious. We just do it automatically without thinking about it. And that creates a whole lot of havoc in our life. Those are the incidents where we say, I wish I hadn't said, done, thought those things. It's important for us to have a conscious awareness of which mind we're tapping into for our solutions to our everyday problems, whatever they might be. We say we want more prosperity in our lives. Well, how do we do that if we constantly go to the subconscious mind where all manner of give it to me, I deserve it sit, rather than the subconscious mind where it says you are already prosperous. You already have all that you need. It's a different mindset. See, the superconscious mind will continually give you divine ideas when you tap into that reservoir. You can't look at a book and say you're reading it without opening it up. You see, our subconscious mind will hold a memory thought. It'll hold the thought, I loved her example with this, that we've gotten our hand burned. We got our hand burned by picking up that fry pan without a hot pad. In her example, she used coal. And so it burned, it hurt. We've created a memory that's sitting in the subconscious mind. Now, God did not create the hurt. The hurt was created by us picking up the pan that was hot without a hot pad. So the subconscious mind will conjugate a memory. So every time you see that pot, you'll be reminded that it burned you. And you have to decide when it happens to discount that thought and use a hotbed and use the pan again. You see, we have to be conscious of it, right? So we make these decisions because common sense tells me that the pan is no longer hot if I use a hotbed. We've made a change in our consciousness. We've made a change in a conscious thought about something that happened to us. But the memory is sitting there that the pan hurt us. And for some of us, we say God hurt us. You see, because we can't live in this notion that you want to enter the kingdom of heaven. We all want to enter the kingdom of heaven. But metaphysically, the kingdom of heaven is right here, right now, and we've made it what our mind thinks it is. Because everything we create is because of our mind. Our consciousness is the reality of what we're thinking. And so she invites us to spend more time in the superconscious realm. And that takes a conscious decision to do that because we've been operating for many, many years on the subconscious. You see, man created the senses to make sense of things, to put a category for it. But the truth is, it's human made, which means that the senses change all the time. So we cannot rely on our senses to be the truth of us. We must really evaluate what the senses are telling us and make a decision whether the senses are telling us because of the subconscious or of the superconscious, the God mind. We have to be paying attention. And this takes work. It takes study. It takes effort. You see, if you want more of God in your life, and I'm assuming you do, then we must work at it. To become good at anything, we must continue to fertilize it. We must continue to water it. We must continue to nurture it. And when we don't, we fall to the wayside and then become dominant subconscious thinkers. Your world, my world, our world is created because of our conscious thinking. We're choosing to go in one direction or the other. And you get to decide which direction you're going in. And that's how we can determine that God doesn't do anything to us because the mind of God is within us. It's not a small, one day it's this size, the next day it's this size. No, it's all there. It's all sitting in the superconsciousness, the mind of God, for God resides within us. God resides in everything. The very rocks sing with joy. You see, God is in there. The rock was formed of the superconscious, and with that, there is joy. Now, we can form a rock, we can polish a rock, we can paint a rock, but it is still God in that rock. And God is in every part of our being. So when you say you're looking for God, you're dismissing the fact that God is within you already. Part of your true essence is God. And so we become very, very studious and very, very deliberate in our thinking when we choose to go to the superconscious mind. That mind is where we want to spend our time. And you see, by meditating, we can go to that place. We can quiet ourselves and dispel with the notion that the world is a bad place to live in, that we're living in this tumultuous time. It has never been this bad. You can go there, or you can go directly to the God mind within you and know that peace resides within us. We are peace because we are God. We emulate all that God has for us. We've just simply forgot a lot to do that. We forget. We forget that we can tap into the mind of God at any time we want. You see, we want more material things. Maybe you're of that mindset. You want a bigger house, a bigger car, more friends. We want the pandemic to go away. Whatever is going on for you, you have the resources with which to move away from that negativity. You can choose a different thought. And when we change our thoughts, we change our outer experience. I can remember in 2008 when we went through the real estate plunge. I had a friend who was a realtor. And after about 2 years, I recall having a conversation with her and said, "So, were you negatively impacted by this real estate issue?" And she went, "No." I went, "Whoa, cool. Why not? Why were you not impacted by that?" And she said, "Because I never believed I would be. I never believed I would be." She stayed in the superconscious mind that she was going to be tended to. And what she did, the divine idea that came to her, that somehow didn't come to those other folks whose lives were ruined with their real estate transactions. She called all of her clients all the time and checked in with them and said, "How you doing?" She did good business with them, and she survived that drought in the real estate market by repeat customers. She put her attention in what was important to her and didn't take on the monkey mind that the world was falling apart in the real estate market. She stayed strong. She stayed committed to her right thinking. Because when we focus on the right thinking, right things happen to us. And it comes effortlessly and without due course of harming anyone or anything. You have that same capacity to change the way you look by your thinking, to change the way you feel. Everything about you can be very different if you choose to go to the superconscious mind first to seek out the wisdom and guidance of God. And then you seek out the guidance on how to accomplish the divine idea. We all know that we're presented with ideas all the time. We talk ourselves out of it. We start to diminish the divine ideas from God, saying, "I can't, I don't have, I'm not able." Whatever the rationale is, for you, you've decided to stay in the monkey mind of the subconscious, where things fall apart, where they're not sustainable. It's like Goldilocks, you know? If she builds it with weak timber, it will fall down. But if we build our house on God, it will never fall down. All you have to do is tap in to that superconsciousness and stay away from the subconscious. Now, we're human beings, so we still have to go to the subconscious to sustain ourselves. For us to stay all the time in the superconsciousness is to ignore the human elements. So we can't go and be in a meditative state all the time. We have obligations. We have experiences with spouses and grandchildren and jobs. But when we're looking for a solution for a problem in our life, we go to the superconscious mind. But we have to be at choice point. We have to be consciously aware that you're at choice point. You can choose which one of the minds you want to operate from for every little thing that's going on in our lives. See, because the kingdom of heaven is not a free ride where we get all that we ask for, but the heaven is us realizing that our happiness, total, complete happiness, comes from the superconsciousness. It's not about God answering our prayers for perfect health, because you already have perfect health. But our mind has changed the definition of that perfect health, and our mind has created the illnesses with which we have. Now, when I say these things, I don't mean to make you wrong or to say that you're in error. I'm not doing that. I'm inviting you to make changes in your life by taking a conscious stance to see, feel, and hear the wisdom of God through the superconscious mind and not our subconscious mind, which leads us down a path that is not sustainable. We want sustained prosperity. We don't want money and then it's taken back out. We don't want friendship which falls apart. We want long-lasting relationships. We want long-lasting love in our lives. And that comes from God. That comes from us tapping into the mind of God where all good resides. So this week, I'd like you to ask yourself a question. What one area of our life, of your life, would you like more of the God mind to help resolve what might be going on for you? What one area could you focus consciously and devote yourself to spending the time in your mind in the superconsciousness rather than the subconscious? What area of your life would you like to have the mind of God with you on it? Now, our identity, God is already there, but we think God is not. We separate ourselves. So our job is to consciously choose an area of our life that we would like more of God in. And then we go into the meditative state to seek out what it is we are to do, to be, and to create so that our desire has been met with God rather than our memories. Godspeed and have fun with it. Be conscious. You can choose where you want your information to come from. Do you want an outside source, a memory, or do you want the mind of God to help you walk yourself through this? See you next week.